You know that moment. You made the plans days ago. It felt easy to say yes when it was abstract, when it was just a date on a calendar. But now it's the day of, and you're sitting with your phone in your hand, staring at that text thread, and something in your chest just tightens. And you type it, "I'm so sorry, can we reschedule?" And the moment you hit send, something happens that you probably feel a little ashamed about. Because what you feel is relief, this wave of it, almost intoxicating, like you can finally breathe again. And then the guilt arrives right behind it. Because here is what society has decided about people who cancel plans. You are a flake. You are unreliable. You are, in the quiet, unspoken verdict of your social circle, maybe even a bad friend. And your own inner critic, that voice that has been with you for years, it agrees. It has all the evidence, the dinner you bilaid on, the birthday drinks you left early, the plans you've quietly avoided making in the first place, just so you wouldn't have to face this exact moment. I want you to stay with that feeling for just a second. Because what I am about to tell you isn't an excuse, and it isn't permission to treat the people in your life carelessly. What it is the truth that nobody has ever sat you down and told you. Here is what nobody tells you. Your nervous system isn't rejecting the person. It is rejecting the overstimulation. There is a fundamental difference, and it changes everything. In the 1990s, a psychologist named Elaine Aron began studying a trait that she called high sensitivity. And what she found was that somewhere between 15 and 20% of the human population, not a tiny fraction, roughly 1 in 5 people, have a nervous system that is wired to process sensory and emotional information more deeply than others. Not better, not worse, deeper. What that means in practice is that the same social environment, a crowded restaurant, a busy house party, even an intimate dinner, produces a significantly higher volume of internal data for this kind of nervous system to process. The lighting, the ambient noise, the subtext in someone's tone of voice, the emotional undercurrents in the room, all of it lands, all of it registers, and all of it costs. Your brain is doing something incredibly sophisticated. It just happens to be exhausting. And here is where the cancellation actually begins. Not on the day of, not when you're sitting with your phone. It begins the moment you said yes. Because when you agreed to those plans days in advance, you were in a relatively regulated state. The evening felt manageable from a distance. What you were actually doing, without knowing it, was writing a check that your future nervous system simply cannot always cash. That isn't weakness. That isn't a character flaw. That is a biological reality that you have probably been white-knuckling your way through for most of your life, without anyone ever giving it a name. It is a biological reality. Let's talk about what actually happens when you do go, when you push through it. Because the uncomfortable truth is, for a lot of people who struggle with last-minute cancellations, the problem isn't just that they're tired. The problem is that they have spent years, sometimes their entire social lives, learning how to perform, how to wear the mask. You learned at some point, probably quite young, that your natural level of sensitivity, your need for quiet, for processing time, for a slower pace, was not exactly socially legible. That the world moved at a certain speed and expected you to move with it. So you adapted. You became very, very good at performing extroversion, at showing up bright and engaged and on, at laughing at the right moments, at asking follow-up questions, at being the version of yourself that the room needs you to be. And nobody sees what that costs. Because for you, a casual dinner is never just a casual dinner. It is simultaneously monitoring the environment for any shift in the social temperature. It is reading the micro-expressions on people's faces, picking up on who seems slightly off tonight, and quietly adjusting your behavior to manage it. It is filtering what you say, regulating your own emotional responses, and tracking the unspoken dynamics of the table, all while appearing completely relaxed. That is not socializing. That is a second job, and nobody is paying you for it. So when the cancellation happens, when your nervous system pulls that emergency brake on the evening, it is not because you don't care about the people you made plans with. It is because the brain, after running that exhausting calculation, has looked at its available resources and quietly, firmly said, "We don't have enough left to do this tonight. The mask is too heavy, and you cannot put it on one more time." Now here is the part that might genuinely shift something for you. Because what I want to offer you is a reframe, not a comfortable one, not a flattering one, but an honest one. Canceling plans, when it comes from a place of genuine depletion, is often an act of relationship preservation. Think about what the alternative actually looks like. You push through, you put on the mask, you show up to that dinner running on empty, and you sit across from someone you care about, and you are what? You are resentful of being there. You are physically present and emotionally retreating. You are performing connection rather than actually connecting, and somewhere underneath the performance, a part of you is counting down the minutes until you can leave. And the people in your life, the ones who actually matter, they can feel that. Not consciously maybe, but they feel the flatness. They feel the slight distance. They feel that they are getting a version of you that is going through the motions, and even if they can't name it, it doesn't quite land as presence. It lands as something adjacent to absence, wearing the shape of attendance. Now consider the other version. You cancel, you rest, you actually recover. And 3 days later, you meet that same person and you are genuinely there. You are curious, you are warm, you are present in a way that you simply could not have been if you'd forced yourself to go. The conversation goes somewhere real. They leave feeling genuinely met. Which version of that friendship do you think is healthier? Which version do you think they actually want? So here is what I want to leave you with. The cultural script that most of us have inherited says that presence equals wellness and absence equals lack. That the person who always goes, who always pushes through, who always performs, that person is the good person. And the person who sometimes, when they genuinely have nothing left, says, "I need to rest," that person is the problem. I want to very gently challenge that script. Because your nervous system is not a moral failing. Your need for recovery is not a character defect. It is a biological reality, and it is one that, left unacknowledged and unaddressed, will quietly erode both your well-being and the very relationships you are trying to protect by pushing through. You are allowed to stop apologizing for needing to recover. You are allowed to communicate your needs to the people in your life, not as an excuse, but as honesty. And the people who genuinely love you, they want the real version of you. The rested version, the present version, the version that actually shows up when it shows up. They don't want the exhausted, masked, counting down the minutes version, no matter how reliably it appears. You are not too much. You are not broken. You are just someone whose inner world runs at a higher resolution than most. And that, with the right understanding and the right boundaries, is not a burden. It is one of the quieter, more remarkable things about how you move through the world. If this hit home for you, please subscribe. And if you want to support these deep dives, hit that join button to become a channel member. I would genuinely appreciate your support.